Bringing people and communities together on seclosounds.org.
Your listening station.
It's a USA special on the Travel Show this week, where my guests will be talking about South Carolina and Florida. And that's all coming up on the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. Hello and welcome to the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. My guests this week are Joe, who's going to be speaking about South Carolina, and Will, who will be speaking about visiting Florida. And there'll be some travel news as well. But first, you probably haven't been able to escape the news about the chaos, apparently, of passports. People missing holidays because they're not getting their passports in time. Now, this isn't a new phenomenon. I should never try and say that word on there. It seems to me that it happens every year. And the advice I've always given people is apply for your passport well in ahead of time. If you've got some life left in your passport, it gets added onto your new one. So you're not going to lose out. Summer holidays are the peak travelling time, always has been, and people always leave things to the last minute, so you're going to get loads of people leaving it to the last minute trying to get their passport through. I've had to get a last minute passport. I'm completely innocent, it wasn't really my fault, but I got offered a free trip which I wasn't expecting, and wasn't planning to renew my passport for a little bit. And I popped down to Victoria, paid the extra, and with 8 hours later I had a new passport. But even people who went to Victoria, to the passport office there to sort out their passports, they still weren't prepared properly. They still didn't have a proper photograph. They didn't have the proper paperwork. So here's my advice about how to sort out a passport. If you really need it in a hurry, pay for the most expensive way you can possibly afford to get the job rushed. If you're not in a hurry, apply with plenty of time before you send in when you send in the application. Don't leave it to 3 or 4 weeks. Try and do it 2-3 months ahead of time. If you've got a post office near you that will check the stuff for you, pay the extra, get them to check it, make sure the photograph's going to be accepted, make sure the paperwork's fine, make sure the paperwork's been filled out correctly. Yes, it's going to cost you extra, but it saves stuff going backwards and forwards when you have to get the right stuff. I mean, getting to the front of the queue at a passport office and being told your photograph's no good, it seems daft that you didn't check that in the first place. And of course there are photo booths in the passport offices, so you can still get new photos. Not that big of a hassle, but you should plan ahead. The Home Office could solve all this by changing their lead-in times. Instead of saying, I know your new passport's going to take you 3 weeks, just say it's going to be 8 weeks for a passport. People will apply it well in advance, and it helps spread the load out. But what do I know? So I don't think there's a real passport problem. I think this happens every year. It doesn't matter who's in power. The same thing happens. You can't hire more staff for peak times because a passport is a very sensitive piece of paperwork. You need to make sure that everybody who handles the applications are cleared for security. You don't want anybody just coming in and issuing out blank passports and then disappearing because their contract's finished. So there's a long lead-in time to get people in to do the job, to make sure they're all safe and secure. And the government just doesn't really have peak recruitment drives. They sort out what they're going to do for the year, work out the average per month and hire to suit. So, yes, the passports are in the news this week, but you wait next year, it'll be happening again, and the year after that, and the year after that. So if you need a passport, don't leave it until the last minute. Apply it well in ahead of time, and if you do need it in a rush, don't rely on the standard service. Pay the top dollar to get the job done quickly. It'll be worth it because you'll be less stressed. And that's my little rant on the passport story. I'm now going to be speaking to Joe, who represents South Carolina. It's a state in the US you may not have thought about visiting. You may not know nothing about it, but I'm going to be speaking to Joe now, and she's going to explain about the area. You may even heard of some of the towns but not realise where they are, and find out why you should consider visiting South Carolina. I'm with Joe. She's going to be talking to me about South Carolina. For the listeners, Joe, can you just tell us where it is, please?
Yes, sure. It's South Carolina is in the southeast of the USA on the Atlantic coast. It borders North Carolina to the north and Georgia to the south. And it's actually the 41st largest state in the USA. So it's relatively small compared to other states. Its population size approximately 4 million. And key areas within South Carolina are Myrtle Beach, Charleston and Hilton Head.
Okay, I've heard of Charleston. Is that where the dance came from?
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
And with the new Great Gatsby film coming up as well, it should be getting quite a lot of attention, we hope.
Say it's on the Atlantic coast. What's the climate like?
It generally has very warm summers and milder winters. Very occasionally snow falls in the upper mountainous areas, but very rare. So they're enjoying very, very long, warm months. Unlike the UK listeners who've probably just gone through a very hard winter. But rainfall is also very minimal across the whole state, and highest sort of totals in that area are only up in the very northwest corner. So they do enjoy a very mild year-round climate.
Okay, I'm going to mention the H word, hurricanes. Do they land on the South Carolina at all, or do they miss?
No, they very, very rarely. They suffer maybe from the edge of a hurricane, and that would only be in the sort of traditional sort of September-October season. But it's certainly not something that's expected every year, and they certainly don't suffer for it as much as some other East Coast states.
Okay, so probably a better beach destination than Florida then.
Yeah.
But I'm sure you can't say that. How long does it take to get there from the UK?
So tourists travelling over to South Carolina can choose from a number of indirect routes. There isn't one direct service, so it's really between US Airways via Charlotte, which is in North Carolina. There's actually a new daily flight from Heathrow to Charlotte, and then it's just a short hop over into South Carolina. It's just half an hour drive from Charlotte. And then you can also get to the state indirectly with United, Continental Airlines or Delta Airlines. And should people choose to take another internal flight from North Carolina to South Carolina, there's a number of options direct into various destinations as well.
Okay, would you think the fly drive is the better option?
Yeah, I mean, certainly from sort of personal experience, we actually flew into Myrtle Beach, which is one of the sort of holiday family coastal resorts, and then we flew back out from Charleston, both via Charlotte, and then it's typical to hire a car when you're there, just because it gives you the best option for exploration and to make the most of the state, really. And it's very easy driving. We're not sort of queuing up in traffic jams or difficult driving. It's designed for that style of holiday, really.
Okay, it's just on the wrong side of the road, though.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's the only thing you have to get used to.
I'm sure not many listeners have actually heard of South Carolina as a destination. Do you know how many Brits travel there each year?
We don't have exact figures for the number of Brits, but they are largely domestic tourists from other parts of the US. UK tourism is on the increase, however, and we have been told it's getting more popular as a destination, obviously as flight connectivity improves and the destinations put on the map more. We're doing a lot of work in conjunction with North Carolina as well, to try and sort of promote both the Carolinas together, because obviously conscious that people are flying into the north and driving down to the south. And obviously from a British point of view, the tourists are generally keen to sample some of the southern cooking and some of the great sort of restaurant scene in Charleston, and Charleston was actually voted the friendliest city in the United States by the Travel and Leisure magazine in the US.
Okay.
So there's lots going for it, and slowly but surely the US kind of connoisseur who may well have done the Floridas, done the Las Vegas done the New Yorks, but want to sort of move on to something else and something quieter and smaller. I'm delighted to see that increase.
Okay, great. You mentioned people have done New York and done Florida. Is there more to South Carolina than cities and beach?
Yes, it's actually, as a state, it's got a really diverse geography. So the Savannah River and large reservoirs from that form up the western border with Georgia. And then contrastingly, the northeast corner includes the Blue Ridge Mountains, dramatic escarpments. There's a Piedmont area, so it's an area of land formed at the foot of mountains, sand hills, coastal plains, marshlands, sea islands and beaches. So, for the outdoor adventure traveller, there's an enormous amount, and then coupled with the sort of sun worshipper, there's approximately 200 miles of Atlantic Ocean coastline. So, there's that aspect from a geographical point of view, and also, obviously, from a cultural point of view and a historical point of view. Charleston is the sort of jewel in the crown, really, of the state, with its Old English district in the north, and its beautiful horse-drawn carriage rides, obviously the Civil War history, museums and cuisine. So it's hugely diverse and suitable, I would say, largely for the family market, plus couples, and we've even, groups perhaps on girly breaks for even a city venture. Yeah.
That sounds sexist now. So there's plenty of shops to do.
Yes, I mean, Charleston sort of in particular has fantastic shopping with lots of sort of unique independent boutique stores. And coupled with its award-winning restaurants, many may have heard of Husk Restaurant, which has come onto the scene recently with its celebration of southern ingredients, and that's led by a gentleman called Chef Brock, who's a Low Country native, and that kitchen there sort of tries to reinterpret the surrounding area, explores sort of ingredients-driven cuisine. And they really look at using heirloom products and local as much as possible. But it's very much a sort of modern city, but it's kept its old world charm. There's also colonial plantation houses in Charleston. As I said, carriage rides through cobblestone streets. The historic district has got houses that are built before the Civil War, and many of these are now bed and breakfast inns. So you can actually sleep sort of amidst the history of the place, which is very nice.
Okay, you mentioned about doing a fly drive and being in Charleston. Some people might not fancy driving around a city. Is there plenty of guided tours on offer for people so they can see everything?
Yes, I mean, there's actually every Friday morning, there's a 2.5 hour walkabout that I've done myself. That's brilliant for tourists. So that's guided by a local South Carolinian who will take you through the history. You'll eat in various of the inns and try some southern barbecue flavours, and that does actually finish with a carriage ride, and that's very affordable for people. It comes in at sort of £28 per person. So certainly in the cities you're fine on foot, and then obviously pick up the car to move on to perhaps one of the coastal destinations.
Gary Fitz here, every Monday, 10 o'clock. Coming up, we've got Eric and Ernie. Join me here on Seclo Sounds.
In your smile.
It's from 1975, Eric and Ernie were four...
Gary, it's not Eric and Ernie, it's Earl and Ernie, the Cape Brothers, Union Man.
Oh, I see. Gary Fitz here, every Monday, 10 o'clock.
Earl and Ernie.
You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. Still to come on the show, Will telling us all we need to know about visiting Florida. But at the moment I'm speaking to Joe from South Carolina's tourist office based in London. And we're now going to start talking about what the must-do attractions are for those who want to visit this state. Somebody might be thinking of going somewhere else for a holiday, but South Carolina could be offering a similar experience for them. What must-dos would you think South Carolina has to offer?
I would say, going through it, it's famous. One of the things it's very famous for actually is golf. So certainly golf aficionados, it would be on their radar. But for those even who want to dabble or try their hand at it, there's actually over 380 courses across the state, and these range in location from the mountains to the sea. So you really are doing it in a beautiful setting, and it's actually known as the golf capital of the South. And it offers everything from beginner to quite challenging play. There's a famous ocean course on Kiowa Island, which is off the coast of the state, or there's a mountain golf region. And similarly, people who are interested in nature and wildlife, there's over 80,000 acres of park in the state, and South Carolina parks are the sort of real gateway to the sort of natural, cultural and recreational destinations for the state. So if you like the sort of great outdoors, that's certainly worth having on the radar. Also Hilton Head Island is worth mentioning. So that's a really sort of secluded, romantic part of the destination, and offers everything from manicured beaches and more golf courses to paddleboarding, kayaking, marsh creeks, dolphin spotting, and also brilliant cycling. So for those who want a bit more of an energetic end or beginning to the day, there's lots of rental options, and particularly for the family market, we'd recommend Myrtle Beach as an adventure and entertainment town, which itself has 60 miles of beach.
60?
Just alone for that part of the state. And it's also got a new sky wheel and boardwalk. So it's sort of old-fashioned, old-world charm, really.
Okay. With only 4 million people, there must be a lot of wide open spaces there.
Yeah, which obviously to us is a huge novelty. To the British market, it's everything that we don't have in abundance here. So it does make for a very relaxing, contrasting holiday.
Okay, what sort of accommodation is there available? I'm guessing there's no great big all-inclusive resorts. It's more hotels and
Yeah, I mean,
places.
there is a huge variety in South Carolina. So, you're looking between, the small historic inns of Charleston and B&Bs to, an Orient Express property for the luxury top end, to hotels, the brands like the Hilton are in Charleston. And then, there have been one or two of the smaller properties, the boutique ones that have been renovated recently. For example, Elliott House Inn in Charleston, Springmaid Beach Resort in Myrtle Beach is famed for its wedding offering, and the newest luxury lodging experience is somewhere called the Society House, which again is in Charleston. So it's got the sort of small, intimate atmosphere of a downtown apartment, but also the level of luxury and indulgence of a top-end 5-star hotel. So, again, there's something to suit every taste and budget, including, private villas and condos.
Okay. I'm glad you said there's 5-star luxury, because that's what I'm used to now.
Is that your taste?
That's my taste, yeah. What would you say would be the minimum length of stay for somebody?
We would advise actually having a week to 2 week trip, given that it is either 2 flights or a flight and a drive to get there. In order to make the most of the whole state, we recommend that you definitely explore beyond just one resort or one town. So people, in order to take their time and fully enjoy and get into the pace of life of the southern states, we'd sort of say minimum a week. And obviously, it does work year round because the winters there are so mild, and the car access and driving is so easy.
Okay, so it's more than just being a summer beach destination in the summer and Christmas shopping in the winter. You can do stuff all year round.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the resorts are open year round. Obviously, the cities like Charleston function year round. The properties don't, close for a period. So, I mean, it would make a very charming winter break, as you say. because the temperature would dip a little bit, but it's nothing like the temperatures we suffer from here in winter. And it could be a lovely spot to even perhaps rent somewhere and even spend Christmas itself.
Okay, you've mentioned various things to see and do while you're out there, but if you was to go there next week, what would be the one thing that you would do?
I would definitely say historic Charleston is the sort of number one must see. I mean, being a city girl myself, I'm slightly biased in that direction, but it just had such a huge impact, and I think coupled with its lively nightlife scene, local bars, I mean that you don't see any chains there. So if you like your holidays to have a sort of boutique feel and unique feel to them, I would definitely say Charleston, and also it is one of the most visited towns in the southeast and the most award-winning area of the state.
Okay, I fancy doing the bar scene there.
Yeah.
I'll have to hit that one time. Is it the kind of state that's easy for somebody to do a DIY package, or are they best off going through operators or travel agents?
Both options are viable. So if the consumer is relatively independent and chooses to book directly, then that's very straightforward, based through the airlines that we mentioned earlier. And also there are accommodation ideas on the discoversouthcarolina.com tourist board website to allow sort of independent bookings with the inns, for example, directly. There is also a plan your trip and late deals tab on that website, which just gives a little bit of inspiration and offers for consumers if they are looking for a last minute getaway. But there's also, a number of the UK tour operators sell the destination, from some of the big players to some of the small US specialists. So both options are used well, and you can find affordable deals through both.
Okay, great. Okay, you mentioned the website where listeners can find out more. Could you just let us know what it is again, please?
Yeah, so we definitely encourage listeners who are keen to hear more about the destination to visit www.discoversouthcarolina.com.
Okay, Joe, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks.
This is Seklo Sounds. Join us every Wednesday at 7 p.m. for 1 hour in the company of Harry and Edna on the wireless, exploring all aspects of the vintage scene and playing tip-top gramophone tunes. Harry and Edna on the wireless, Wednesdays at 7 p.m. on seklosounds.org. Jolly good.
My name's Teresa Kelleher. Join me on Seklo Sounds every Wednesday at 8 p.m. for my show Inspired by Jazz. Each week I'll take you on a journey as I feature the music, the maestros and the melodies. That's Inspired by Jazz with me, Teresa, every Wednesday at 8 p.m. on Seklo Sounds.
You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on seklosounds.org. As always, websites mentioned on the show will be posted at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. And now for a state in the US where people probably have heard of and have some idea what you can see and do there, and that's Florida. I spoke to Will from the Visit Florida organisation via Skype, so the sound gets a bit scratchy every now and again, to find out what there is to see and do in Florida and see what stuff there is to do which you may not have necessarily thought of in the past. So here's my chat with Will.
My name is Will Seckham. I'm president and CEO of Visit Florida. We're the state of Florida's destination marketing organization.
Okay, thanks Will. I'm pretty sure everybody knows where Florida is on a map, but how big is it, and is it true that it's full of pensioners?
No, actually, we know where Florida is, know where the Sunshine State is, and when you look at the the big global world of choices that you have, it's actually a pretty small little corner, but it's a little piece of paradise. Actually, about the same size as the landmass of England and Wales. So it's a pretty good sized state. It's a super state if you think about in comparison to many states with over 19 million Floridians. And no, it is not made up of all pensioners. In fact, incredibly robust and probably one of the most diverse populations in the United States.
Okay, you said there's 19 million?
19 million Floridians, yes.
Okay, that's a fair few.
And
it's
over 1 million of them, about 1,090,000 of those 19 million Floridians are employed in the Florida hospitality industry. So you have an incredible population base that is really just there and exceptionally trained and skilled at providing exceptional experiences for travelers from around the world.
You mentioned it's the Sunshine State. What is the climate like?
Well, it is the Sunshine State for a reason. There's no question about that. It's one of the most beautiful climates around, obviously subtropical climate, and typically very, very warm on a year-round basis. Now, you certainly have some get a little bit cooler in the winter, but generally speaking, you're going to be you're going to have a very warm climate on a year-round basis. And as you get on around the beaches, and even in the dog days of summer, you have the beautiful sea breeze, and that cools everything off and makes it very, very, very comfortable.
Is there a best time of year to visit?
Amazingly, when you look at the state of Florida, we've got over 91 million visitors a year come to the state. There's about more people visiting the state of Florida than live in 12 U.S. states. So there's people coming and visiting every single day of the year from 154 different countries every year. The first quarter is typically the most visited, from January to March. And then we just came off of a very, very successful second quarter that's about 24 million visitors. So really on a year-round basis, there'll be a great opportunities for visitors around the state.
What about hurricanes? We see on the news here that you get 1 or 2 hurricanes a year. Is that much of a problem?
Well, there's no question that Florida does live in the in the hurricane alley, I guess you would say, and that the hurricane season is between June and September, or June and the end of November every year. The state of Florida has been very fortunate recently, but they're over the years, they certainly have had the hurricanes have come through and impact the Sunshine State. I think one of the things that should give all visitors from around the country, and certainly all around the UK, a lot of comfort planning a vacation, even within that window, is that we've got probably the most accredited, acclaimed emergency response system in the world, and work very, very closely with our hospitality industry around the state to make sure that any visitor to the state, should a tropical storm, hurricane come through, is going to be very communicated to and very forthright. We work very, very closely with them to make sure that nobody is surprised.
That's reassuring to hear. When flying over from the UK, how long does it take to get there?
I had to ask that question. It's a pretty easy flight when you look at all the international flights from the UK into the state of Florida. I mean, you're talking about an 8-9 hour flight, but incredible amount of options that are available from the UK, coming from Gatwick, Manchester, Prestwick, and we got British Airways, Virgin Atlantic, American Airlines. I know Delta's flying. There's a tremendous amount of access into the state of Florida from the UK, and then an awful lot of charter service coming in from regional airports like Newcastle, Cardiff, Birmingham. So really, all around the state, there's an amazing connection between the UK and our British visitors and the state of Florida. And it's a long-standing, relationship. The UK has been one of the biggest and most important feeder markets for the state of Florida for years and years and years. And as a result, we have great relationships and incredible service to get into and out of the Sunshine State from the UK.
Do you know how many British people visit each year?
Last year we had over 1.6 million visitors. So that's really, again, puts the solidifies a really powerful relationship between the UK and Florida vacations. And it's been that way for many, many years, and the loyalty is very much appreciated, and certainly think that hopefully the state of Florida is delivering on a promise of providing exceptional vacation experiences for our British friends year in and year out, and hope to continue to do so, because it's obviously very important for the state of Florida, and hopefully, again, those are 1.6 million incredible memories that are being taken back to the UK.
Yep, I've got a couple of friends actually popping over in October. I think it's their 5th year in a row, so they're quite keen.
It is, again, it's a lot of traditions and a lot of amazing Florida to explore. So I guess my encouragement would be for those 1.6 million visitors to talk to, when they go back, to share what was the favorite thing that they had with their friends, favorite experiences that they've shared, and maybe learn a few new ones. This is actually the state of Florida's 500th anniversary or commemoration from when Juan Ponce de Leon first landed on the shores of the United States as the first European visitor, and he chose Florida. And visitors have been ever since. But in 500 years, there's a tremendous amount of diversity, again, of opportunities to really explore some really cool parts of this really amazing state.
500 years, that's a lot older than I expected, actually.
Well, in some ways, as you walk around in UK and London, and you see an awful lot of things that have been around a whole lot longer than that. But it is appropriate to note that the first European visitors to the United States did come through Florida, and fortunately, we think that we're well positioned to be the number one European destination in the United States.
You can contact us or just keep up to date with travel news at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show.
This is Seclo Sounds, your community radio station. If you'd like to volunteer some of your time and skills with Seclo Sounds, send an email to volunteers@seclosounds.org and let us know how you would like to be involved. MK Flyers Online, the fast and simple way to find any kind of business or service locally. Find us at mkflyersonline.co.uk or download the MK Flyers mobile app from your app store. MK Flyers Online proudly supports Seclo Sounds, community radio for Milton Keynes.
The John Guinn Travel Show. Checking it out before you check in on seclosounds.org. Still to come on the show, travel news. But at the moment I'm speaking to Will from Visit Florida via a Skype call. We're going to get a little bit serious now and a little bit official when we talk about the paperwork you need when to visit the USA. So we're going to have start off by talking about the ESTA or ESTA, which nearly everybody from the UK needs before they visit the United States. And those who don't need it are those who are not eligible and they need a full-blown visa. So we're going to talk about that now, and then we get back onto the more entertaining stuff. When visitors from the UK come over, they need a ESTA. What is an ESTA or ESTA?
The ESTA program is relatively new, but what it is allows for UK visitors is to participate as part of the global Customs Border Patrol system, and it's really a visa waiver program so that UK visitors don't need visas to enter the United States. And it's a electronic system for travel authorization. Basically, you just have to go to online and register for that, and it's $15 for 2 years and allows you to come in and out of the United States freely.
So it just simplifies things, does it?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good. I'm assuming that most people who visit from the UK are on a fly-drive holiday. What paperwork do they need to bring with them?
Really, I think again, all a UK visitor does need to bring with them is a valid driver's license. We typically recommend bringing the photo card and the paper card just as part of some of the rental agreements. But that is definitely a very, very common practice, is coming here and renting the cars. You might take you a few minutes to get used to driving on the other side of the road, but it does provide a tremendous amount of freedom. Again, it's a big state, and from Pensacola to Key West is a long drive, but you're never more than an hour or so from the ocean, and exploring a lot of the non-traditional parts of Florida, I think, provide some of the most exceptional experiences and some really cool memories.
Over here in the UK, we've got what's called a blue badge scheme for disabled drivers, so they can get parking spaces. Do you have something similar for visitors in Florida?
Yes, there is. Visitors that can apply for a temporary disabled parking permit. Very similar scheme. The temporary permit is issued for up to 6 months, and the fee is $15.
Oh, that's pretty reasonable, isn't it?
Yes.
$15. So, with all your 500 years of history, I'm assuming that it's not all theme parks and beaches in Florida.
Well, you do have 825 miles of the most beautiful beaches in the world. No question, it's the theme park capital of the world. But when you look at all that Florida has to offer, it's a fishing capital of the world. The sport fishing and inland fishing is really something you can't find anywhere in the world. The amount of species that you can catch here. We're the home of American auto sports, from the Daytona and the 24 Hours of Daytona to Sebring and NASCAR. There's an amazing history of motorsports in the state of Florida. The home of American golf. The World Golf Hall of Fame is in the state of Florida. We have a big section of the PGA swing. The Florida swing comes through the Sunshine State with several major tournaments, including the Players Championship on an annual basis. Sporting events from professional to amateurs. There's probably more competition in the state of Florida than pretty much any place you can find, and that's just kind of the beginning of a long list of the cruise industry is by and large in the United States is based in Florida, and more than half of the embarkations getting on a cruise ship start in the state of Florida. So you can tack onto that all the amazing things that come with, that make up our communities so special with, again, the incredibly rich diversity and history of the state, providing amazing sights and sounds and incredible diversity of tastes from around the world, all kind of combined into that unique Florida flair. So a lot of the really big experiences that people remember and think about beaches, and they think about the amazing theme parks who continue to invest in their product with the expansion of Harry Potter and the Disney expansion of Fantasyland, which was just massive over the course of the last year, and the addition of Empire of the Penguins at SeaWorld. So there's continues to be something new and exciting at those places that many visitors are familiar with, but off the beaten path there's again amazing diversity of history and arts and culture and shopping and dining that can really enhance and expand a great Florida vacation.
That's quite a lot then, really.
Yeah, I don't think there's any place in the world that can boast the unique and the expanse of the tourism product that is found in the Sunshine State.
If somebody was to go there for a city break, what would there be available for them to do?
Again, in a state that is as big and diverse as the Sunshine State, there's an amazing array of choices on that end as well. I mean, if you want to get in the city, and there's probably no more international city in the United States than Miami, and all of South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach, and that provides an exceptionally vibrant, again, very diverse, exciting experience, combining the urban environment with the incredible beaches and climate of South Florida. But if you go up, you can go up through North Florida and a place like Tallahassee, laid-back southern town, or Tampa, which I think has a really unique flair from Tampa through Sarasota on the central west coast of the Sunshine State, to even bigger, different experiences in, say, Jacksonville or Pensacola. And from top to bottom, they're all very, very different, very, very unique, but again, are going to all offer incredible hospitality experience, because the people in the Sunshine State very much appreciate your business and want to make sure that you leave from your vacation with great memories that you're going to want to share with all your friends and family.
Happy Radio.
Hi, this is Russell Hearn. Join me Fridays at 12 for a little pick-me-up. I'll be playing the music that stirs those warm memories and takes you to a special time and place. And Minnie's here with her choice of fun apps for your phone too. So for a lighter look at life and some songs you'll never forget, tune in to seclosounds.org for some happy radio.
You can contact us or just keep up to date with travel news at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. I'm still speaking to Will from Visit Florida, and we're now going to talk about how easy it is to get around the state. You've mentioned a few times that it's actually quite a big state. How easy is it to get around?
You know, from flying into the state, again, as we talked earlier about getting the fly drive vacations, you're never more than an hour or two from the beaches, and most likely they're going to be flying into the Orlando area or one of the South Florida airports. So flying into Central Florida or South Florida, or maybe even connecting and coming down through Georgia from a Delta flight as an example. But getting around the state is a very, very good system of interstate highways. And I would encourage people to also get off the beaten path. I think some of the most fun memories and the unique discoveries are found off of our interstate highways and into the really cool communities around the state.
When somebody's on a vacation or holiday with you, what's the must-dos they should do?
Well, I don't know that there's enough time on this show to walk through a laundry list. And in fact, I think probably the reason that Florida's been the number one long haul destination for Brits for many, many years is because there's just so much to see and do. You can come back to the Sunshine State 5 years as your friends were talking about, 5 years in a row, and never have enough time to explore the entire state. But that said, there's some places, again, the beaches are remarkable. I encourage people to take a look at a new area of beaches that they maybe haven't been. Northwest Florida especially, I think, probably are some of the most beautiful beaches that I've ever seen. Down to the Everglades. And the Everglades, many people don't know, really the headwaters of the Everglades start in Orlando and work their way all the way down into the Everglades National Park, and that's an experience that I think is something that you can't find anywhere else in the world. Certainly, the Florida Keys continuing on down is one of the most beautiful drives, and again, just an incredible experience that nobody can find anywhere else. Obviously, you can't come to Florida. You can't come to Florida many times without experiencing the amazement and wonder what that is Orlando. And again, everything from SeaWorld and Universal Studios and Walt Disney Resorts and all of the incredible experiences that they're providing and continue to build. As we were talking earlier, the island, the Empire of the Penguin at SeaWorld just launched this summer, an amazing experience up close and personal with the penguins. The Transformers experience just opened at Universal, and they're working on the second phase of an incredible Wizarding World Harry Potter experience. And Disney, again, with their biggest Fantasyland expansion in history, is again providing new and exciting programs. Another one that I would definitely encourage visitors, it's brand new, is at Kennedy Space Center and the new Space Shuttle Atlantis experience. Again, another really, really tried and very exciting experience.
So there's an awful lot. So what would you recommend to be the minimum length of stay per visit?
I'd have to say that by and large, to tap into all that there is, you're not going to get it all done in any one vacation. So I would encourage I think a couple weeks is a great opportunity to get a very good experience and enjoy the most. But just know that you'll never be able to see and do all there is to do in the Sunshine State in 2 weeks, let alone 3 or 4. So maybe just come back frequently, I guess.
Okay, so the real must do is to plan to come back.
That would be the number one.
Yeah. The accommodation, is it all big hotels or is there smaller bed and breakfasts you can book it and stay in?
Well, I think again, when you have the number of visitors that the state of Florida has, you end up with probably, again, the biggest variety of accommodations from world-class, high-end resorts down to, one-of-a-kind bed and breakfasts like the Rod and Gun Club in the heart of the Everglades. So you have a incredibly wide diversity of accommodations. Again, resorts, condominiums, if you're going to be staying longer, and home rentals are also very, very attractive and very, very popular. So it runs the gamut from renting a beautiful 5-bedroom home to a luxury resort property to a quaint B&B that I guess all will satisfy your taste based on kind of what you're looking for at the time.
Okay. You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. Still to come on the show, there's going to be my weekly update on travel news. But at the moment, I'm just about to conclude my conversation with Will from Visit Florida. And we're going to talk about whether you should use a tour operator, travel agent, or is it pretty easy and safe to book everything yourself. And here's what Will had to say. With the travelling around Florida and coming over from the UK, is it okay to do it yourself, or are you better off going through travel agents and tour operators?
No, our tour operators and travel agents around the UK have been very, very important partners for many, many years, and will remain important partners for many, many years to come. And I think that, again, they provide a great value and a great resource to travelers. So I certainly encourage. If you haven't been to the state of Florida, if you haven't been here recently, there's a great opportunity to expand your information and have a lot of comfort and confidence by working through the tour operators and travel agents because they can provide an amazing service. I think many people now, and more and more are booking direct, and certainly when you have a high comfort level with what you're doing and where you're going, that's obviously an option. And at visitflorida.com/UK, we can provide you with a tremendous amount of ideas and insight to help you provide some inspiration on what maybe should be the next stop on your Florida vacation. So I can tell you that I think, again, that tour operators and travel agents in the UK provide a tremendous amount of value, and certainly encourage you to shop and look with them. But you also there are many options to work directly as well.
Okay. Getting all slushy romantic, is it easy to get married in Florida as a visitor?
I didn't get married in Florida, but I did get married, so had to do a little bit of homework on this one for you, John. But yeah, actually, weddings and destination weddings is a very big trend in the state of Florida, and we're seeing a lot of weddings happening around the state every single day. And it's really not that hard. I mean, you have your passports, birth certificates, all your paperwork in order like you would normally have, and there are services, and I've actually met several people that make their living coordinating and managing and helping assist and facilitate with beach weddings or weddings that in front of the castle at Disney, and, all around the state.
Are there any really unusual ones available?
I would have to imagine there are, but I don't have a good example for you. But maybe get married in the Everglades. You never.
Yeah, that'd be quite sweet. One last question, not a really serious one, but is it best to avoid spring break?
I think that's a good question. Is again, with 1.6 million Brits coming to visit the Sunshine State, everyone has a different goal in mind of what their vacation is going to feel like and look like. If it's attractions and spending time in the attractions, or if it's spending the time on the beach, there's a great time. I think you can find exactly what you're looking for in the state of Florida at any time of the year. Certainly, if you're looking to avoid a bunch of kids, you might go someplace else during the spring. But I don't think that the spring break time frame is actually something to be avoided. In fact, I think it's an amazing time of the year to be in the Sunshine State, and there's always a way to plan your vacation in a way that you can experience and get what it is you're looking for.
Okay, so it's not that bad then.
Absolutely.
This finally, can you just repeat the website one more time, please?
Sure, it's www.visitflorida.com. And if you're interested in specific information just on direct travel from the UK, you'd be www.visitflorida.com/UK.
Okay, thanks, Will. Thanks for your time.
John, thank you. Have a nice day. I appreciate the opportunity.
You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. Seclo Sounds exists to bring people and communities together to celebrate all that's best about the city of Milton Keynes. We produce a variety of music and speech programs, and you've heard some of the promos in this show. And we're produced by local people and run by over 60 volunteers. However, there's always room for more, so if you have a program idea or a skill that you want to offer, please send us an email to volunteers@seclosounds.org. And of course, as we're all volunteers, we can't operate without the help from our partners, and one such partner is Interaction. Seclo Sounds is based at the old rectory, which is the home of Interaction MK. They've been bringing arts to life in Milton Keynes for over 35 years. They use the arts to improve the life chances of disabled people and others in challenging circumstances through shared curated activity. Their programs help participants to develop creative, personal and social skills. To find out more, please visit them at www.interactionmk.org.uk. You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. And now for some travel news. Starting off with a story from Paris. You may or may not know that some people put padlocks on bridges to show their love to their partner. But unfortunately, these padlocks are causing a problem. They're just too heavy for the bridge. One or two's okay, but there are thousands on these bridges. And a chunk of the Pont des Arts bridge fell away, and police had to be called to seal off the area to get people away, and it had to be checked to make sure that the bridge was still safe. Of course, if a boat had been passing underneath, it could have been a real problem, could have been a tragedy. When this particular bridge was built in 1804, they probably never thought about people putting padlocks with initials and dates onto the side, even when they rebuilt it in the 1980s to repair war damage. They probably didn't think about this problem. But all the guidebooks mention it, and people go prepared and they stick these padlocks on, and it's all very nice, it's all great. But unfortunately, the bridges and the structures just can't take it. So there has been a call for a while now for people to stop doing that. There's a No Love Locks campaign with the strapline Free Your Love, Save Our Bridges, which is actually launched by 2 Americans back in February this year, because they were concerned about the 700,000 estimated padlocks around the city. And perhaps it was Kim Kardashian that really finished it off, because she put initials on a lock and pasted it on a different bridge in Paris back in May. And this bridge I'm not even going to try and pronounce, because you know, dear listener, I can't pronounce any words. But anyway, don't put your padlock on any structure to show your love for your partner. Come up with a different way which isn't going to cause any damage, and hopefully won't cause injury to people when they go past. If you have done this and you want to talk about it, put your comments at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. The last item on the news roundup this week is quite an important one. If you've been my regular listener, you know I've had flight-delay.co.uk on a few times in the past, talking about getting compensation for when your flight's been delayed or cancelled. Well, after a ruling last week, there's going to be an awful lot of more people putting in claims for compensation. And in some cases you have to feel for the airlines if they charge you £80 for your ticket, but then have to give you €400 because you've been delayed. So I think it still needs some ironing out for some common sense, but that may or may not happen. But anyway, the Court of Appeal judgment meant that airlines may no longer be able to use technical faults as a blanket excuse to avoid paying passengers compensation when there's been a delay. And the ruling opens a floodgate to thousands of claims from passengers who have been refused compensation by airlines because they've used this excuse. In fact, I might actually be eligible for some compensation because I had a flight to Antigua that had to turn around and come back because of a warning light in the cockpit. And now it was perfectly safe to fly. They could have kept on flying to Antigua, but if they had done, they wouldn't have been able to fix the plane in Antigua. So it would have been stranded there. So they figured out it would be better off just to dump the fuel after a couple of hours flying, fly back to Gatwick, refuel, get the bit changed and then go again. But I couldn't claim, but maybe I can. But Jet2, who's involved in the case, says it will take the matter to the Supreme Court to try and seek clarity and consistency, which means this is our last chance to make sure we don't have to cough up. It's 28 days to lodge an appeal to the court, and then it could be several months before a decision is made to grant the appeal. So although it may be a gold mine but not quite in the CCI bank charges type stuff, it's something you should keep an eye on if you've ever been delayed over the last few years on a flight and the airline has said, sorry, we're not going to pay you any money. It was a technical fault. We couldn't foresee it. We don't have to pay you. So keep an eye out. Follow flightdelayed.co.uk on Twitter and the RSS feed or other similar companies to keep an eye on this case. You never know. This time next year you might be able to put in a claim for €400 or even more, depending on how long your flight was. So the last bit was an airline is having problems trying to get out of paying compensation and they're going to appeal. But of course it may sound great to you that, I'm going to get some money back. Don't forget, who's going to be paying these fines? Passengers are, by increased airfares. So it's all swings and roundabouts. And that's the end of the travel news on this week's show. You're listening to the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org. Well, that's it for another edition of the John Guinn Travel Show. I hope you found the information on these two USA states, South Carolina and Florida, useful and interesting. Perhaps if you've been to Florida a few times, you might give South Carolina a try for your American summer holiday. As I mentioned throughout the show, that any website mentioned will be posted at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. And you could also use that web page to post your own pictures and experiences of visiting these two states. If you've been caught up in the so-called passport chaos, I suppose if you've been caught up with it, it is a major issue. Please share what happened to you at facebook.com/John Guinn Travel Show. And likewise about airline compensation. It's always good for people to see that people have actually had the money. My brother got €2,000 for a flight that was delayed last year, and they did tell him to go away, and he just stuck at it. Well, I say stuck at it, one more letter, boom, check in the post. And I hope you can join me next time on the John Guinn Travel Show on seclosounds.org, where each week I'll be checking it out before you check in.
Around the world, the trip
MK Pulse proudly sponsors Seclo Sounds. MK Pulse is Milton Keynes' local magazine, bringing helpful information on food, health, fashion, money, travel, culture, and much more to 66,000 readers every month. Plus news, views, and what's on from around the city. If it's happening in Milton Keynes, it's in MK Pulse, and it's available online at www.mkpulse.co.uk. MK Pulse and Seclo Sounds, the heart and soul of the city.